You are listening to episode 57. On today's episode, I get to interview Betty Mutwiri. I have known her for a while as we attend the same church, and she was always, auntie kind of figure, someone I looked up to in the community. But I didn't know too much about her professionally and what she actually does. And it hasn't been until recent years that I got into entrepreneurship myself that I got to learn more about her on that intellectual level and how she actually has a background in education. She does leadership coaching, and she's a director of HR at Sask Polytechnic after spending years being a director with the health region as well in different areas. So she has quite an amazing leadership and management background. And today we talk about her and her journey and her story coming from Kenya and making it successfully in our city as well in Saskatoon in Canada. Also, if you have been enjoying these episodes, I would be so grateful if you went to Apple Podcasts and left me a rating and subscribed. I want to hear, how are these episodes impacting and inspiring you? And also, you can also subscribe to me on Spotify as well. Now on with the episode. You are listening to the sounds of inspiration. Welcome to the Okiki Podcast, where we make inspirational people known. Brought to you by your host, Fian O'Brien. You are listening to the sounds of inspiration. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Okiki Podcast. And today I have the honor of interviewing a very special guest. Her name is Betty Mutwiri, and I've actually seen her for a while. We're both going to the same church, and just known her for a while. Kind of seen her from a distance in terms of what she does, but it's only in recent years I've kind of come to really learn more about her and what she does in her role as a leadership coach. So she has her company, BM Consulting, and it's really been interesting this year just to see her in different organizations, really serving in her skills and bringing that advice. So I don't know many people that are leadership coaches in this community, and I was just really excited to have her on the podcast, learn from her, and support someone that I know from my city as well. So thank you so much, Betty, for being a guest on this podcast.
Thank you so much, Fian. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I'm very excited and just wanted to know more about you and your background. Was a leadership coach always something you wanted to be, or what was your educational and career journey to getting here?
That's an interesting question, Fian. Where do I start and how many hours do we have? It's a long story, but my background is actually in education. I took education as a first degree when I was in Kenya before I moved to Canada in 1992. When I moved to Canada in 1992, as every first generation immigrant, tries to figure out, what do I do now? Because your degree is pretty much useless. You can't translate into work right away. So it took me a while. And when I moved to Saskatoon, I was told I needed to go back to university, get a license. And that's when I thought about doing a transfer. How do I transfer my skills and my knowledge to something else along that line? Adult education was something that started growing on me. And that was actually kind of catalyzed when I went to Leadership Saskatoon and noted that they were using adult learning principles and in a leadership program. And I thought to myself, this is something that I could actually use my previous work and education experience. So adult education became my passion. I took a master's degree in leadership and training And there again, it's leadership is more about, it's about adult learning, and it's about improving yourself, so professional and personal development, and making a difference in seeing results. And that really resonated with me. So I could use everything that I was trained to, because it was about really helping build capacity in other people in leadership development. I did that for a few years, and then I came across leadership coaching. And leadership coaching is another way to build capacity and to help people be their best selves and to help them attain the results that they require. So then I pursued a certified executive coaching certificate from Royal Road as well, and have been a practitioner ever since.
That's amazing that you were able to really strategize and re-strategize and think, okay, this is what I have a background in. Here's an opportunity. How can I put the two together? And so when you did get all that training, what was kind of your next goal in sight? Was it automatically the consulting? Or was it then just finding roles in a corporate way that you could actually use some of these skills and trainings that you now had in Canada?
Yeah, and that's been a journey as well, because when I was in Leadership Saskatchewan, I was appointed as executive director right after completing. So that was a great opportunity to be able to serve in a leadership role, in an executive role, and really open up my eyes onto what else I could do. So when I transitioned from Leadership Saskatchewan, I became an organizational effectiveness consultant at Saskatchewan Health Region. And that was maximizing my skills in leadership and training. So as an organizational consultant, you work with leaders to help them figure out the problems that they have in their unit, to build their capacity and effectiveness. So as an organizational consultant, then, that's really helped me bring all the skills and talents together in the service of my organization. So when I was in that role, I think I was in that role for about a year, and then I was promoted to a manager. And then as a manager, then I started, of course, using everything as a manager. You have to put in at Royal Roads, their tagline is live your learning. So that was a great opportunity to be in a managerial role. And I was subsequently promoted to become director of organizational learning and patient and family-centered care. So my career journey has been one of quick succession. I think I attribute that into really trying to apply the skills that you have. And as a leader, you always have to influence change. You have to help other people grow. You have to look at the organizational values, organizational strategic directions, and think about how your the unit I'm managing or directing, how it can add value and really help the people within that unit, create value for the organization. I think that's why I was able to climb up the ladder quite successfully at the region, and now Polytechnic. I'm doing the similar role, very much to what I was doing at the health region.
Yeah, I really like you explaining that, because I read a really cool book called How Women Rise by Sally Helgeson. And it was really talking about, kind of like you're saying, really recognizing those skills and the giftings you have. And in order to kind of, leverage that and move yourself forward. And in a sense, that's a little bit of having a personal brand. Now, I know that's within an organization and not a separate one, but at the same time, it's a real thing to establish. So I guess for some of the listeners hearing you and hearing this story and going, wow, she really knew how to leverage herself. What were some of the tips and tricks you utilized to really, be strategic that way and go after your goals in a bigger way?
Wow, that's a big question, Fee. And why do I begin with that? So you mentioned about strengths, and knowing your strengths is actually knowing your superpowers. So you have to figure out, what am I naturally talented in? What are my natural strengths, and how do I always keep building into my natural talents so that they can become established skills? Right. So there are various assessments for taking strengths. One of the ones that I took as actually strategy as part of my strength. So I have strategy, I have execution, relationship building, and positivity. So those are my top 5 skills. In every situation, I approach it from the perspective of how can I use my strengths? Because when I'm using my strengths, then it doesn't put a strain on me. I don't feel like striving or working really hard, but I'm just using what God has naturally endowed me in and have built skills to help further that. So it comes quite naturally. So when you're really working from a place of strength and talent, things happen and you become a value to the group. And you have to recognize that everyone else on that team has a different strength. Nobody is actually created with the same strengths. I think we have very few people who have identical strengths. It's really a question of looking at life with abundance and seeing that you create and you have a particular niche and really stick to that niche and embrace other people with the niches that they bring so that they can be their best self and you can be your best self. And then together you can create a great team. I always believe in really know who you are and what you bring and be confident in that the team needs you. And unless you show it and demonstrate it, they would not know. And it's not so much about talking, it's about demonstrating in action. People can see that your values are aligned to what you're saying, that your strengths are aligned to what you're doing, and then they will be excited to work with you.
So many good points, including matching your values with action. So that's a really good takeaway for our audience too. And so in the midst of you noticing that internally and creating those opportunities, when did you start noticing people in the community noticing that and wanting to connect with you? Because a lot of what I've seen externally has been your work with different organizations as an individual. So I guess, when did that start becoming part of your journey as well? Yeah.
I like to serve, and I like to serve in areas that are aligned to my values and aligned to what I believe in. So, for instance, with leadership, organizations reach out to me because I am passionate about developing leaders. I've done that for over 20 years. And it's something that I love to see leaders grow. I love to see when people really connect with the essence of who they are and where they want to be. And I love seeing people flourish. I love seeing people, move from point A to B, whatever that point is. So that brings me a lot of joy. So it's through personal interaction and maybe people seeing the results of my work that, they come to me for that kind of support. Because I enjoy it. I genuinely enjoy doing that work. And lately, I've been involved with GAWI, the Global Empowerment Initiative for Women. And that has been such a thrill for me because I'm now, in a position where I can do what I do in the marketplace for Black female leaders. And it's such an incredible, incredible group of women leaders. My goodness, the power in that group could definitely shoot a rocket to the moon. These are empowered, transformational leaders. And it's just a joy every month to just interact, to share ideas, and for me to impart the skills that I have. But it always is a catalyst for such wonderful conversation. So that gives me a lot of joy, of course, as a woman, African woman. So it just doing those kinds of things just bring me so much joy. And I always believe that when you're in a space where you're doing things that really bring you joy and add value to others, more will come. I don't sit, waiting or strategizing. I just open my heart and just continue doing what's in front of me. And then other opportunities come. And when they come and they align to things I really believe in elevating Black female voices. I think we need in this day and age to create and uplift and celebrate each other and be catalysts for connecting, the passions and the skills and the opportunities. So
definitely. Yeah. And I've definitely seen some screenshots of of that workshop itself. There's so many women on there, and I'm sure they're being so blessed by the skills that you're imparting to them. So I'm very excited to see the outcome of such a workshop. And even along those lines, you have your own consulting now that's focused on this training and this leadership training. And so when did that start? And I guess, in a sense, what initiatives did you take to really make that brand known as well?
Well, that started, I always say someone always has a side hustle. And that's coaching and consulting was my side hustle since 2012. I just don't make it very public because I also have a full-time job. So as a side hustle, it is really a side hustle. So that again, I get coaching clients. I have to fit it within the time that I have. For instance, with the Gay Week training, I do it on Saturdays because I do have full-time work. So, I take opportunity for when I can do, Saturdays or evening work. So that fits in within the current, plate of responsibilities that I have right now. But I've had that side hustle since 2012.
Yes. And in light of what you're saying with leadership and people finding purpose,
Mm-hmm.
feel free to answer this question if you're comfortable. But
Yeah.
I was going to say, do you feel like there was almost more of a interest for what you teach during the pandemic, given so many people were kind of trying to figure themselves out and figure out, what's going on? Is my career still meaningful?
Yeah.
Where should I go from here?
I think, you always get into an inflection point where you figure out, okay, I need to take stock of my life and just figure out if I'm on course. I think the pandemic has really helped reprioritize people's lives. People have come to really figure out what is really important and what they need to prioritize. So that has been a great opportunity for coaching because, again, you support people in their thinking process in terms of where they need to go next. So it's been a good inflection point. But I think I see these inflection points almost every day because, everyone's journey is very different. They're faced with circumstances that are unique in their lives. And, they come to it at different points, whether it's through a career change, whether it's because they want to move to the next level, or whether it's because of a family change. So I do see these changes, of course, because I work with leaders across Canada. Everyone comes to that inflection point at different stages.
That's a really good point to make. So even though there's like the bigger or macro inflection point, there's along the journey with individuals, like you said, they'll have their own depending on what they're experiencing. I guess I have a couple more questions. Did you yourself have a mentor or someone speak into your life when you were starting this journey?
Absolutely, yes, 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 and yes. I was very fortunate to have a mentor when I was starting my career in Saskatchewan. And this is a lady who was part of my board of directors. And she almost volunteered herself to have lunch with me once a month. And I would pick her brain because, again, and I'm speaking for myself, having been in a professional role in Kenya and being one in North America, some of the cultural cues are very different. My expectations about what would happen in a boardroom were very different in Kenya versus here. When I was in Kenya, if I presented something to my boss that he did not like, he just flat out told me, this is not good. Just go and repeat it. But here, I was, as executive director, I was, prepared reports, and sometimes the conversations would be stimulating and sometimes there'd be silence. So I didn't know how to read the silence. I thought silence was consent. So that's what I would use the time for and pick a brain is how do I read some of those cultural cues? And to my surprise, silence is not always a good thing. Silence means that you need to maybe, touch base with the chair and figure out what went wrong because something is not right. So I found that as a huge opportunity for me because honestly, if I didn't have that translation, I probably would never have made it in that role. And it's something new. It was new. You cannot expect the same cultural cues to be what you experience. So having someone who can translate that, someone who's a confidant, someone who can let you know what's actually going on beneath the surface and really be a sounding board for you, to discuss those challenges. So I credit, her so much, for helping me cut my teeth in an executive role. And ever since, I've always had mentors, and not one, several at the same time, because it's depending on what you're doing that you need someone who has gone ahead of you and, just to help you. I think a mentor is definitely someone who everyone needs. And everyone is actually, I find most people are willing to mentor if you approach them and ask them and be very goal and purpose oriented as well. And say, I've noticed X and X and Y. Is that something that you'd mind sharing some ideas? And if the mentee, and I was a voracious mentee because I just wanted to learn some of these unwritten rules that you'll not find in books. You don't find those kinds of things in books. and they're not in real time. And this person, fortunately, is observing me and can give me feedback on a specific thing. So I've had mentors in the areas in my life. I have a mentor in a spiritual life. I have a mentor in my family life. I have a mentor in my PhD career. I have a mentor in my work life. So yes, that's just the personal success team. A coach is another personal success team member that everyone needs to have. And I always compare it to sport coaching. You know, when you see these NBA games or basketball or whatever, I'm not very big in sports, but I see their coaches being in the forefront of the acknowledgement when the team wins, right?
Yes.
He is behind the scenes, but he is working with the team to make them shine. And that's a similar with leadership. You know, every leader needs a coach because the coach is the person that you are working with to really help you shine. They're in the background and they can be that confident, sharpen your strategy, you know, help you sharpen all those things that you require to be the best that you can be. So yes, I call that the personal support team that, you know, every leader needs, because a leader doesn't succeed on their own. They succeed. I always like the South African, there's an African proverb, actually, it's not South African, it's an African proverb. I can't credit the country. But it says that if you want to run fast, go alone. But if you want to run far, run with others. So that says it all.
Definitely. No, yeah. I really love how you package that personal support team. There's so many different types of mentors too, like you brought up, and even coaching. Yeah, that's something that's been on my mind more so than before.
Yeah.
Especially in this season. I feel like I've met a lot of really interesting mentors through Zoom just because of different fields I'm in. And it's like the first time in my life I'm like, I think I might need an executive coach for some of these goals. Yeah.
Happy really to be your coach.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, that would be cool, actually.
Yes.
And I was even going to say too, you were also recently featured in our local newspaper. And I wanted to ask a little bit about that. And what do you value the most about your role today, especially now that people are beginning to recognize it, I guess, on a much larger scale?
Well, you know, the acknowledgement was quite a big surprise. I was not expecting that, but it was very poignant for me because it was 20 years since I actually joined Leadership Saskatoon. And the Don Ravis Alumni Award is named after my first boss. So Don Ravis was the chair of the board when I was executive director. So it was a really great highlight, I would say, to receive an award after his name, and also to receive an award from the organization that really introduced me to Saskatoon. So it was a good acknowledgement. In looking back, I'm not one for, you know, awards, and I was feeling extremely awkward for the first few days. But on the other hand, though, it is a way for me to be grateful. And I chose to look at it as I need to thank God for the opportunities that He has opened for me. It's a way to glorify God, because I think that I put Him first when I'm trying to look for opportunities, strategize, and do the things that I do. So it was an opportunity for me to say, yeah, God, look what you've done. You've been faithful. I thank you. It was great to thank the people who have been alongside me and say, thank you so much, because without you, this could not have happened. And my tagline or my brand is insight, influence, and impact. And it was great to look at the impact. So I'm not just talking about influencing impact, but it was great to see from other people's eyes the impact that I've had on them and the organization. Yeah. So it was a point of celebration and a point of acknowledgement. And for me, it was a fresh inspiration to keep doing. I think I knock wood. I'm hoping that, you know, I still have a few more years before I retire. So it was just a second wind in my sails, just to, you know, I was inspired to just keep doing what I do and do it even better.
That's amazing. And thank you so much, Betty, for taking time today to be on the podcast and really share a lot of value for our audience just in these, uh, 20, 30 minutes we had
Yeah.
together. I'm sure a lot of people will really appreciate the words you've said, the words of wisdom you've said. And if you don't mind just giving our audience, where can they find you and connect with you, especially if they want leadership coaching?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. I think the best way to connect with me is to go to bmcoachingandconsulting.ca. So that's small letters, bmcoachingandconsulting.ca, or to reach me through my email, through LinkedIn, I'm Betty Mutwiri, through Twitter, I'm Betty Mutwiri, through Instagram, I am Inspired Leadership or Betty Mutwiri. So all those social, outlets, and also from the website, I think would be a good overview because I don't usually post on the other social handles as much, but that would be a good way for them to get in touch with me.
Great. That's fantastic. So you all can connect with her. And thank you again for being on the show.
Thank you so much, Fee, and have a wonderful day. This was lovely.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.